Welcome to today's episode, everyone. There is an unbelievable volume of stuff to catch you up on. If you look at your top right, you'll see we're in April, and you might be thinking, well, what the hell has happened here? Why are we in April? What's been happening in the Champions League? What have you done, Tom? What's been going on? Feast your eyes. I mean, everyone, I think there's only one place to start, really, and that is the Champions League. So, yeah, I saw you after you played Copenhagen. We had a 100% record in the Champions League phase. We finished top with 24 points, 8 wins from 8. That saw us beat Bayern Munich, Spurs, Poznan, Benfica and Inter. So my initial plan obviously was to bring it back for maybe these 2 games, potentially at least one of them. I remember I said last time after the Copenhagen game, if we're pretty much qualified, we might only just bring it back for one, or we might come back later, but chances are we're going to bring it back for one of these. Well, after the Poznan game, we were pretty much guaranteed top 8. And then when we beat Benfica, it would have been really difficult for us to have not even finished top. Because Barcelona came second and they'd already slipped up, they'd already had a draw, so they were sort of, a little bit further down. We came top, and our reward for that was a game against Nice. Now, we won the first leg, as you can see, 3-0, quite comfortable. And then if we look at the home leg, they got 2 goals in the first half from Bastien Mopio, who was a centre-half. Basically, it was 2 set-piece goals, pretty much identical. So the first one went in, and you think, well, it's a set-piece. These things happen, like perfect delivery. He just got to jump on our defenders. It happens. The second time it happened, I was like, okay, this is not good. So we literally just changed our whole defensive set-piece setup for corners and just basically just flooded a load of men back, apart from one striker on the halfway line and one person on the edge of the box. And they never really threatened again after that. And then Kushart got us a goal back just to sort of make things comfortable right at the end. The only downside to this really was we didn't get any coefficient points for this loss. That was the only annoying thing, was that, we didn't get the points for it. But then our reward for that was a quarter-final tie against Napoli, and we just played against them, and we drew 1-1. We were the better team. You'll notice Lorenzi is in goal, and that was because Faris Yusufu literally got an injury in training a few days before, so he was out, so we had to play him. And Angeloni, as ever, has been injured just before big games, so we ended up playing Suarez, who I'm amazed is still here. You'll notice his thing says surplus to requirements. We'll touch on him in a bit. But Faris Yusufu is going to be back for this game. We tried Borisenko up top because he has been playing up top a little bit for us, and he's done really well, but he just didn't have a good game. Levervasseur also didn't have a good game. So we'll probably go with a Machanovic or a Petras today up front. But as you can see, look at the match stats. Okay, our XG 0.78 of that is a penalty, but even so, with that, we were still comfortably the better team. So I'm hopeful that even with the away leg, we still might do okay. You'll notice that Napoli's goal scorer was Stanislav Bender. Now, you may remember him from playing for us. So he's gone to Leipzig, then to Benfica, and then to Napoli, and he scored the equaliser against us. He could have actually won the game for them, but yeah, he sliced a shot wide quite horribly. And that's where we are today. We're playing the Champions League second leg quarter-final, and we're also going to play a derby against Red Star in the final phase, which will basically, if we win, guarantee us the league. Because if we do just look at the league, so obviously we had that defeat to Serdulica, and then obviously when you saw us last time, I think it was when we played Stankom, where we beat them 2-1. They then lost their next 2 or 3 league games, which allowed us to really pull clear. And as you can see, with the exception of the draw against TSC, which I think was after a big Champions League game, so you kind of can see why we maybe sort of slipped up a little bit there. They always seem to do well against us, TSC. They're quite a hard team to break down sometimes. We've just won every game, and that basically means that as it stands, we are 15 points clear of Red Star, so obviously beating them in the next game will put them 18 points behind us with just 6 games to go. As you can see, our goal difference is huge. They're never going to catch that. 102 goals for, just the 11 against. Ridiculous return really from us. To be fair, Red Star only conceded 17, but it's the goals scored which is the problem for them. Now, before we touch on transfers, I've just moved myself out the way so I don't do what I usually do and hide everything from you. So, down by having my face down here. So, we had a few big departures in the January. A couple that I didn't really want to do, a couple that I was quite happy to do. So, if we touch on the in, so I think the last thing I told you about was Setsa Bakar. I think he's still out on loan at the moment, I think. Yeah, he's still out on loan at Bursaspor. And then we signed this guy. So Aaron Villafane is someone we've been following for a while, a good few years. And he had a release clause of 6.5 mil. So with us struggling for a little bit of depth at defence after Skiba went, we actually tried to sign him in the summer, but he had a long-term injury, so he failed his medical. So we managed to sign him in the January, and he's done pretty well since he's joined. Basically playing as a squad player, rotation option at the back. Bascovenu, we touched on as well, actually. Eduardo Fernandez is a keeper that our scouts found who I think looks phenomenal at the age of 21. Coming in from River, he stayed out on loan there, and I think he could be a really good keeper for us going forwards. Faris Yusufu already has interest. I had a feeling this might happen. We'd sign him, maybe potentially have him for a season before someone else came in. But I don't think that's the end of the world, because I would be more than prepared to try and give Fernandez some game time and try and get him developing. Either that or we'll loan him out if we keep Yusufu. Ertin van Genechten is the right back that we wanted to sign. We managed to, basically, as soon as he turned 18 on the November, we hit his release clause and he's come in. And he's done pretty well since he's joined us, to be fair. Happy to be an impact sub, but he's been playing quite a bit because Angeloni's had a few injury problems. And then Mate Hawa we touched on, and I think we might have touched on Azim Minimovic. Again, just young players who our scouts found by doing the youth team scouting for the national teams and coming in, and I think he might have... No, he just came straight in. We'll probably try and loan him out to someone. He's only 17. He looks really... good potential to develop, and I reckon we could probably end up selling him on for a profit. Now, the outgoing, so obviously we had the loan players who went out, and then you'll notice Castorani finally left. We got 81 million from Man City for him. He was really just like... more bids were coming in the January, and he was just kicking up more and more fuss. And Man City kept lowballing us, and I just kept basically being like 80 million or nothing, 80 million or nothing. And then like deadline day came around, and we managed to get them to the 81 mil. So he left. Shea Gregg, we made a nice profit on him for 3 million to Brighton. We signed him on maybe not quite a free actually, but still profit on him. But I think actually was he like 1.5 mil? 1.5 mil from United, and then we sold him for 3 mil to Brighton. So easy little bit of profit. We were just trying to trim our strikers options down, and that's why we ended up selling Davide as well. So he was someone we had pretty high hopes for. We fought off a few clubs to sign him, and also to actually keep hold of him over the time. But in the end, Wolfsburg came in, Leverkusen came in, and it said, oh, actually he'd be more interested in it. I realised that now I'm doing this, I'm also smack bang in the middle of everything, but you can still see the values. 3.6 mil he went for. We signed him for, and then we sold him for 21.5 mil in total. Leverkusen bid for him, and he was like, I'm happy to talk to Leverkusen, but I'd rather go to Wolfsburg. And we're like, well, Wolfsburg haven't bid for you yet. And then Wolfsburg bid for him, and it was like, he really wanted to go to them. Now, Leverkusen were offering us a little bit more money, but Davide really wanted to go to Wolfsburg, and we'd actually managed to agree like a 35% percentage of next sale, not even profit, just 35% of next sale. And I would envisage what I'm hiding is irrelevant. What you can see is that his predicted value at the moment is 45 to 64 mil. He's not really done a huge amount since he's been at Wolfsburg. He's mainly been playing off the bench, but this Wolfsburg team are actually doing quite well. I think like second or third in the Bundesliga. Yeah, so he's definitely got the potential for a sale on, and we could potentially see a little bit of that. 30-40% of whatever he goes for is going to come straight to us. And I think the last thing to catch you up on is we finally got the Serbian national job. So the assistant manager stepped down, and we applied straight away, and we got it. And we've only played one game, which was a friendly against Sweden, and we beat them 2-0. They currently are... they didn't qualify for the World Cup, I don't believe. They did get promoted from their Nations League Group C, so there's a lot of work to do there. We're basically just running the tactic that we use with Red Star, with Partizan, not Red Star. with Partizan, but we've got a lot of Red Star players in here. But yeah, a lot of players that we're familiar with. Obviously, Stankovic is our centre-half. Milic, he played for us. Slivic, we had him. Miodrag Kishnevich, he used to play for us as well. He came through our youth intake, and then Milan bid for him, and he kicked up a fuss, so we had to sell him. Ristic used to play for us. Obviously, Jovic. Dragan Zivanovic, he used to play for Stankom, he now plays for Leon. He's an unreal striker. I'm still kicking myself because we could have tried to sign him on a free at one point when he was leaving Arsenal, but we didn't take it for some stupid reason, and he's turned into an absolute monster of a striker. Oh yeah, Popovic as well. He used to be our keeper. He's actually joining us back on a free in the summer, just as like a emergency backup keeper. Who else have we got? Milicic, Macetic, all former players of ours. Alexic. So yeah, exciting times. Good little challenge. Hopefully, can help us potentially see if we can just drag the level up a little bit of Serbian football. See if because our youth intakes have slowly been getting worse. I still don't know how well the dynamic youth rating is going to work in this game. Obviously, it was supposed to be working quite nicely in FM23, and it never really did. But our youth intake this year was pretty terrible. We only had one player who looked remotely good, and that's Hamza Ibrahimovic. Basically, he could be a decent ball-winning midfielder for us if he continues to develop. The rest sucked. Absolutely terrible. I think our head of youth scouts and stuff only recommended signing like 4 players out of this list, so pretty awful. So I think for the game here against Napoli away, I think this is the team we're going to go for. Van Connection is only really good enough for 45 minutes. He's also just been coming back from injury, but we're going to go with him just to see if we can start off quite strong, and then if needs be, we bring Suarez on as a more defensive option there. You'll notice that Machanovic has a big unhappy symbol next to him, and that was because PSG bid for him in the January, and I was not prepared to sell him at this stage. He didn't like it, but he can suck it up. We're going to go with Alexic in at number 10 today, a little bit more dynamic than McAllister, who is also leaving at the end of the season. He's joining Boca on a free. He's come in, he's done a job for us this season. He's done what he was brought in to do. Thankfully, we've got Yusufu back, Bishabu, Stankovic, Tugard as the backup options. You'll see a hell of a lot of wanteds again, just embracing himself for another horrible summer. But we are actually due to jump up to 8th place in the coefficients. So bad. Oh yeah, so Suarez, by the way, we'll touch on him now actually before I forget. So he came to us in the January saying, I think I'm going to explore my options at the end of my contract, and my contract expires in 18 months. And I was like, do you really want to do that? Like, think of the club and the team and all the teammates and everything. And he was like, you're right. This club has done a lot for me. So he sacked his agent. We're like, brilliant. And then 2 days later, he's like, I'm going to leave at a free at the end of my deal. And I was like, what? So I was like, well, I'll have to sell you then. So I offered him out for like 50 mil, which I know he only had 18 months left, but it says 65 mil. That was the value we set for him initially, like last summer, but we said 50, so we offered him out for 50. We bought him for 33.5 mil, and he is twice the player he was when we signed him. He's so good, and no one will come in for 50 mil for him, so he's ended up staying for now. But to be fair, I think I'd rather just take the hit and risk losing him in the summer for maybe less than what we signed him for, because he's too valuable for us for the second half of the season. Because obviously with the Champions League, you can only put in so many replacement players. You can only replace 3 players or something like that, and we needed him basically for the defense. So so he's. I'm kind of prepared for the fact that I might lose him again in the summer for less than what we bought him for. I might make a little bit of a loss on him, which would be a shame. But hopefully his impact that he's had this season in the Champions League will make it worth it. That's where we're at with him. So huge game, obviously placing the Champions League semi-finals up for grabs, which is just unprecedented for us at this stage in the season. We've never got this far at all, and I think if we win, we will be playing either Arsenal or PSG. I believe is who awaits us in the semi-finals. He's already on a yellow, so we need to change that. That's a poor pass, but Chian nicks in, gets it well, plays it to Micanovic, out to Venganektin, come on, go. I think he's onside, and it's 1-0. And that is exactly why I started Venganektin, because he's just more attacking than Suarez, he's just better going forward. And he lays the ball on a plate for Micanovic, who's brought in after his injury. He's done well since he broke his ankle, and since he's come back, he's still been chipping in with the goals quite nicely. So yeah, I've been really happy with what he's been able to do since he's come back, and makes it even more important really that we can try and keep hold of him for as long as we can. Raspadori going out wide, comes back to Stan Bender. What can he do with it? Hopefully nothing. He plays it to Abdi, it's blocked. Raspadori's shot is blocked, and then Stankovic gets rid of it. Flipping heck, backs to the wall stuff there. Right, I'm just going to try and kill the game a little bit. Something that someone in Jake Cooper's server was talking about last week, Zach, I'll give you a shout out, talked about how time wasting he found worked fantastically well for controlling games at any point, never mind just from when you're trying to wind down the clock. He said he just found it was helping him loads in his save. And we used it against Spurs. We were 2-1 up against Spurs at half time. Put time wasting on at half time because they were just sort of coming back into it. They were arguably the better team in that half, and we were quite lucky to go in 2-1, and it just completely killed the game. We ended up winning like 3-1 in the end, we didn't completely like kill the game. Like we didn't like, it wasn't like we just sort of hit the bar. It wasn't like we just completely just shut down any attacking efforts. We just were like really slow and lazy with it. It just helped just slow things down a little bit and control the pace. Oh my word, Alexis, you just had a shot of wicked if we kicked it wide. I feel like we need a second goal here before half time just to completely put us in control. Karnaseshki is doing so well at claiming those corners. I might have to look at that half time, see if we can just change our corners so there's someone, like just change the way we adapt it so that there's someone stopping him from coming out. So we've mixed up our set pieces, both attacking and defending, just to try and help shore things up at the back, in both phases, both attack and defence. And we've also just tweaked the setup on the attacking corners just to try and keep the ball away from Karnaseshki where possible. We're going to just leave things as they are for now. Otherwise, I am conscious of taking my foot off the gas too soon, but equally I just don't want to, I don't want to like sort of play too risky football and risk just getting done on a counter. Nah. Thankfully, that was so lucky that he hit that wide. That was poor from Stankovic. We are playing slower tempo as well. Well, standard tempo, slower than normal. That was incredibly lucky. Encourage probably will do nothing at this stage, really, let's be honest. I don't know why I've done it. Don't seem to be too bothered. Right, Venganektin had more than his 45 minutes recommended. We're going to bring Suarez on. And he can just sit back and just keep... what's his name? Kvara quiet, basically, is my plan for him. And leave it at that for now. And it's Venganektin with the shot. That'll probably be his last action. I am incredibly tense, everyone. If it's not translating, I am incredibly tense. I'm tempted to take off Chihan. I don't want him getting sent off. It will just ruin the game. Good block. Oh wait. Oh, he was offside. I did think, that could be offside. 65 minutes. Alexis into Essa. Micanovic just needed to be busting forward for that. Essa's going to have to come off, isn't he? We'll probably bring Borisenko on, actually. Something a little bit different. Because he is more of a... That's a red card. Almeida... Hopefully... And they've taken Bender off. Hopefully that kills the game now completely. Because they're just playing one man up top, this Bogfins. We should be able to mark him out of the game. Here's Alexic. Allen. 2-0. 2-0. 2-0. Oh, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Suarez with a lovely pass through to Milan. Lays it back. Allen through Karnaseski's legs. Chef's kiss, everyone. And that's the game. That is the game. I'm going to make those subs now just to really freshen the legs up a bit now. Borisenko as planned. Come on for the tired Essa. I'm going to bring on Nemanja for Allen. Allen's done his job now. And we're going to bring Azvedo on for Tugar. Because obviously we've still got a massive game coming up next against Red Star. We were really lucky actually the way these two legs landed, because we didn't have any games during the weekend. So it meant that everyone was pretty much fresh and raring to go, because we didn't have that game at the weekend. Annoying time for that to lag as Alexis hits the post. He has had a blinding game, him. He was another one who in January, I think he was like, I kind of want to leave. And it was like, why? It was like, I think he was just like, I want a new challenge or whatever. And I was like, well, I'm not going to actively sell you. But we agreed that if a club bid 11 mil, then we would. But no one really bid that. So he's stayed for now, and I'm glad, because he's done a fantastic job. Basically, him and Castorani, before he left, basically proved to me that the issue wasn't necessarily the tactic or the role with Granados. It was just Granados. For some reason, it just wasn't working for him. And we're into a Champions League semi-final. Wow. Well, yeah, everyone as suspected, we will be playing, well, the winner of Arsenal and PSG. I couldn't remember if that was the case. It is Arsenal who beat PSG on extra time. With the draw pitting Partizan's riches away to Arsenal's rather more modest budget. Okay, is that just because we're loaded at the moment because I've sold so many players? I mean, we are minted, but I think that's just because we've sold so many people and just made so much money. What that means for the coefficients is we are in a 15.7 season, so as it stands, we are still going above Turkey. I think basically we're guaranteed to do that regardless, because there's no Turkish or Danish clubs left in any competition. Basically, all we're trying to do is just close the gap up to Portugal as much as possible now, because they still have Sporting in Europa League, who lost to Chelsea, and they've got Estrella, the Amadora, who drew with Lazio. So yeah, it's just a case of just trying to catch up to them now. I also forgot to mention that we're signing Mykhailo Mudryk on a free. He was really happy to come and play for us. He's coming in, I think, as like a squad player on like 50k a week. He still looks really, really good. He'll still come in and do a really good job for us, I feel, on coming in off that inside left, but he can also play anywhere across there. Obviously, we've got Essa, we've got Borisenko, but I just think he's a real quality option to have. And then this guy, I don't get why he was rated so lowly by our scouts. I don't know if it was an old scout report, but he's basically going to come in to replace McAllister/Castorani, because obviously McAllister is leaving, Castorani's left. And this guy is Samuel Grassi from Real Madrid, or from the Castilla team, coming in for 6.5 mil. Okay, his bravery's not brilliant, but I feel like there's a good enough player here that we can do something with him. So the games are coming thick and fast. We've got a game against Red Star today. Thankfully, most people are still pretty much good to go. Just made a couple of little changes. McAllister's going to come in for Alexic, Jovic in for Levervasa, and Petras in for Machanovic. And otherwise, it's pretty much as we were against Napoli. Because then after this, we've got Stankom in the Cup quarters, I think. And then we've got them in the league. Now, as I said at the start, if we win this, it's pretty much game over in the title race for everyone else, because we will be 18 points clear of Red Star with only 6 games to go, and they're not going to catch up to us in terms of goal difference. So, and our head-to-head will be so much better as well, because we'll have won all 3 games against them this season. That should have been a goal. That really should have been a goal. But I am. Yeah, so it'll be the next episode after this will be the Arsenal game. And I think I might do both legs. I'm tempted to do both legs. Might as well, mightn't we? Champions League semi-final. Make the most of it. We have played very, very well this season. I was just talking to a friend. I was telling him about the Napoli game. And he was saying, "Oh, who you played in the semi-finals?" And I was like, "Oh, Arsenal." And he was like, "Oh, are you confident?" And I was like, "Not really. Like, our record against them's pretty terrible, but we have been playing some really good football this season. We've been playing really, really well. Obviously, 8 out of 8 in the league phase against like Bayern Munich, Spurs, etc. Some good teams. Before people scoff at Spurs, they are the reigning Premier League champions. So, let's not get too ahead of ourselves on that one." And a very meh first half. Not really much to write about or shout about. And Petras having a poor game, so we'll probably bring Micanovic on for him soon if he carries on. I am quite happy to sell Petras in the summer. He's been a good player, but we've had him for this will be 2 seasons now. He's a good player. He's not. I don't think he's anything particularly special. He's got some really standout tempos, but I don't think he's anything too impressive. I don't think he's necessarily the future. Well, he's definitely not the future of that role for us. It's obviously Micanovic if we can keep him, and we sign him for like 950k. So anything we sell him for is already an immense profit. Because he's valued at like 6 to 9 million, I think. So we should be easily able to get that or thereabouts for him. So it's a profit already, and he's scored some vital goals for us in his 2 seasons. So worth every penny. Fantastic goal from McAllister. Lovely assist from Jovic. Like I said, I'm really happy with McAllister. He's come in, he's done a job, he's delivered in big games. He scored the penalty in the first leg against Napoli. He's got a few assists in the Champions League as well, and a few big goals. So, I wasn't really planning on giving him a new deal at the age of 35. So yeah, he's come in and literally done what we brought him in for. It is time to make some subs, I think. So, Podratsky has done pretty well since he's been here. So has Marcio. Marcio's just not featuring today because he's injured. He's not injured. He's coming back from injury. No, we're going to bring in Vukovic actually because he had a real purple patch around like about January time, and then he got injured. Not January, just before January, and then he got injured. So he did really well. Kind of gave me hope that he might actually fulfill the sort of potential that we threw on his shoulders when he first came through our youth intake. Because I thought when we first got him through, I thought, oh wow, he's brilliant. And then Micanovic came through, and we're like, oh wow, maybe Vukovic isn't as great as we thought. But I sort of have this ambition of having him and Micanovic as our 2 strikers. At some point, just potentially switching to a 2-striker system, and having both of them up front would be really nice to see. 2 youth prospects that come through the team, all the way through from sort of the bottom level, all the way up, and just doing bits for the club. I think would be great to see. And he showed me that he could potentially be that player. And this is going to be a 1-0 win, nice and easy, no drama, not even a single shot on target for Red Star, and that is the title done really, let's be honest. Turns out, by the way, that I am stupid. That puts 15 points clear. I obviously just had 18, obviously just had something in my head and just not the case. But yeah, pretty much done. Win the next game against Stankom, and yeah, we're home and dry in the league. But yeah, as I said, the next game that you see... put everything else in now. Will be the Champions League semi-finals against Arsenal. Sandwiched in between that is Vojvodina. But yeah, I'll bring it back. I think I'll bring it back for the first leg. Like I said, I think we'll do both games. In the other leg, it's Bayern and Barcelona. Barcelona beat Wolves in their quarter-final. I think it was quite close in the end. Wolves beat them at Molineux. But it's that 5-4 on aggregate, 4-2 on aggregate for Bayern, and yeah, Arsenal won in extra time. I've just got this now just for finding. I've just set this up just so it's dead easy just to scrounge youth intakes basically. Anything else good coming through? Where are we? So these have literally just come through in Cadiz. and Cluj. So we'll offer some of these some trials, I think. Let's offer trials to these guys. See if there's anyone good there who's worth trying to poach. So I will see you for that Arsenal game. Exciting times, everyone. Very exciting times. So take care, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I certainly did. 2 lovely wins, and I'll see you all very, very soon for that Arsenal game. Fingers crossed, everyone. Let's get it done.